Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is Hunter here, and I'm here with Scott. Scott, how you doing, my friend?
So good.
And we're here with someone who has not been with us since our wonderful Zoolander 2 review. He definitely made an impression. Kyle Peterson. Kyle, sir, welcome back. I am so excited to have you back, sir. How are you, sir?
Good man. My opinions are like a tidal wave. That's why I only come every so often.
Brilliant.
This is off to a great start. So before we kind of jump in here, I'm gonna apologize because I am losing my voice. I'm battling the old flu's coming down here. So we're gonna power through these. I might lean on Scott and Kyle a little bit more, but we want to
As
get.
you should.
I, thank you.
We're a couple of strong men where you can lean on us.
Oh, thank you. But
hmm
I wanted to get a couple these two things up specifically. So we're talking Justice League. This came out on Saturday. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Justice League, woo!" I'm I oh I'm very curious.
You're a DC hater.
Okay, fuck you. I am not because no, good. No, because that is the first thing people say when I don't like Batman v Superman or any of that other crap they've put out. They're like, Hunter just says like, no, there's no, because you're not the first person to say that. You're like, Hunter
And
hates
I
just.
won't be the last. I won't be the last.
You will not, but I fucking hate that. That's the first thing. It's like, oh, you don't like it, so you must hate it. It's like, no, you're talking to someone who Batman the animated series would be my top five favorite shows, not cartoons, shows ever. That was probably.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking about just the movies wise, like the box office movies,
Oh
not
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
and
Fuck
shit.
you. Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. Cause they suck. They're terrible movies. So, I'm not apologizing for that. Tell DC to put better shit out. But so I will say one thing that's
I
good.
I would say that about the Celtics, even though they have 17 championships.
Yeah. Well.
It's kind of when you don't like something, you're not going to like really anything they put out, type of thing. You already have that bias that you don't like it.
But the thing is though, I admit I do have a bias, and it's against good movies, and DC has not put out a good movie uh since I mean, unless you're a director and your name's Nolan, apparently DC can't put out good live action movies. So I'm waiting, DC. Like, shut me the fuck up, because when you make something good, I will be the first one to say it. And actually, Man of Steel, me and Scott liked. I think for like the first half of it, it was just the second half where it.
Yeah,
Pew!
that was definitely dry in parts for sure. But I think I'm more excited for this one. This one looks better than Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman.
Well, Scott, what do you think about that? Do you think this looks better?
Definitely better than Suicide Squad. I feel like I was more like hyped up for Suicide Squad
I was too.
than this one, and that was a bit of a letdown. But yeah, I there's two people in here I'm excited to see. Um, Wonder Woman, which I'm pretty interested to see what her movie is going to be like,
Yeah.
and then The Flash, who seems like he might be the only thing if things go wrong, might be the only thing keeping this movie afloat. Because I like that actor, and I feel like he just based off. I mean, we say this all the time, but there's it's such a snippet of the entire movie. The previews are, but it seemed like he added the comedic relief when it's needed, and boy, that's what DC needs is a little bit of comedic relief because Lord knows that how dark they're trying to be,
So,
which at times is good. But I mean, like, I would definitely be anticipating this movie, kind of like going into similarly to Suicide Squad for
so,
sure.
so, so this is what I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna start with the good. Wonder Woman looks fantastic. Um,
hmm
Aquaman looks
Yeah, the Aquaman
way.
looks cool.
So I know I'm probably the one person here who's read an Aquaman comic. Aquaman has always been as me, as we would all say, kind of for a really long time.
He gets made fun of a lot. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely. And Jason Momoa, I got to give him props. He looks like he's bringing the physicality to what Jeff Johns, who's a comic book writer, brought to the New 52 version of Aquaman, who's actually quite a badass. So this Aquaman looks awesome, I have to admit, and the costume looks a lot less silly than I really thought it would. I think out of all the costumes, his might be the best, to be totally honest. I you're totally right, Scott. And look, we're not trying to get this to be like Marvel movies, but goddamn, inject some fucking humor. You're so right, because they've been so dreary and dreadful, and everything has to be so dark, and not everything needs to be Batman. And I want comic book studios, not everything needs to be fucking Batman. I don't think people hear that enough. Everyone wants to go the dark, route just by default, and you shouldn't do that. You need to give these people some fucking character, and it angers me when that happens. Amazing Spider-Man is a perfect example of that. So, but this has some really cool character moments. There's that scene of like the waves just hitting Aquaman, and he's standing there like in the water, and I went, damn, that's a great looking effect. You see Wonder Woman using lightning here, which might be a clue to who her dad is, but I'll leave that there. There's some really cool shit here, but then, but then we get to stuff that makes me go, uh-oh. Say it with me, Scott. Who's directing this movie?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
That's right. And
Row.
And where Zack
it looks like a Snyder.
Yeah, and where Zack Snyder where Zack Snyder directs, disappointment is sure to follow. And I'm telling you right now, the thing about Zack Snyder is visually he has it down. Like, he's very much like Michael Bay in that way. If he was just a visual director, I'd say, oh man, that's awesome. But you have to direct, storylines and plots, and they both really struggle at that. And so I'm worried about this in that sense. Also, I think everyone's costume, for the most part, looks pretty good. I don't like that the Flash, who's played by Ezra Miller, that his costume is as metallic as it is, because for being the fastest man alive, you would need something more lightweight. I mean, that's a bit of a nitpick, but it just irks me just as a comic fan. The thing that really bothered me watching this was Robo Nigger, which is Cyborg. He looks.
Were we just talking about this?
We were, and he looks terrible. I hate the CG on Robo Nigger is his name to me, as far as I'm concerned. Robo Nigga, pardon me, that's less offensive. But I don't like the way Cyborg looks. I know that you have to have some CG because he's a fucking cyborg, but there have been iterations of his costume where it's like there's some cloth where the chest plate is, and I think they should have really probably gone that route. But so that just really kind of stuck out with me. And the last thing I'll say before I kind of kick it over to Kyle here, I love the fact that someone finally called Batman on his shit and just asked him, like, what is your superpower?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And he just goes, I'm rich. I was like, thank you so much for just giving in and admitting that Batman doesn't have fucking superpowers. So that made me actually laugh really hard. But Kyle, some other thoughts that you have on this?
Oh, I mean, to go along with that Batman thing, like, just because he doesn't have superpowers, he has, like, equipment that makes him superhuman, like Iron Man, So, I mean, he could still, like,
True.
Not, I guess, naturally a superhero, just like, a technology superhero, maybe. I don't know.
No, that's
Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. He's very similar to very similar to Iron Man in that way. And kind of to go on to Iron Man, like, that's completely CG, except for, I mean, they do actually have a suit for him, they could have totally done something similar with Cyborg. I agree with you that he doesn't look that good in the previews. Like, the half like face thing is like, it makes it more obvious. If it was just like neck down, I think maybe you could have pulled that off a little bit better. But like the half face thing, it makes it kind of obvious that it's all CG. But it'll be interesting to see how they play that out, like in like more of the live action type of scenes, rather than like maybe fighting or something like that. But we'll see about the fighting scenes. Sorry, Cal, not to jump over your opinion here, but we'll see about, that's the one thing I look for in Marvel, and that I really commend them for, is the fight scenes and the sequences. So That's one thing that DC has really lacked is like really cool, intense like fight scenes and stunt work and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a wait and see for sure. And as we say every time for DC, so I hope my hopes aren't up.
Yeah, I mean the thing about this though is there's some stuff there's a lot of stuff here I think to like. Um, Someone that I have not been a fan of is Amy Adams as Lois Lane. It's not because she's a bad actress, because she's not. And then did you see her at our did you see that dress she wore at the Oscars? Oh my god, just major boobage. But uh, but but
Yeah, that's important for a woman, really. Major boobage.
Like, why are you on screen right now?
I really forget how much more sexist we get whenever Kyle's on the podcast. So thank you there, Kyle. But they've done a horrible job of using Amy Adams in these movies. They just can't find something for her to fucking do, and so hopefully they do something with her correct for once. That would be. I'm sorry, I realized I was saying more like Stu Griffin, like hopefully they find something for her, but. I'm pulling for them to find something for her to do. You only see him for a second, but did you notice? Oh my god, I'm totally blanking on J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. How fucking awesome he looked. That fucking walrus mustache.
He's totally a Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, no, he looks like Commissioner Gordon too. That was probably one of the few things I went, oh my god, that's so cool. So I marked out hard for that, and even hearing Aquaman drop the dress like a bat, I dig it, and then Batman goes only temporary. I went, okay, there's some humor here. They're trying to lighten it up. I think my biggest complaint about this trailer is it feels like this takes place during like Compton at like 9 o'clock at night. Just everything looks so dark and dreary, and the color palette. God damn it, Zack Snyder, why can't you brighten things up? It's not nighttime every fucking time that you shoot something. And everything looks like it takes place at night for the most part. And I fucking hate that, because you can't really focus on the costumes or appreciate the aesthetics, of these characters as much at night. And if 3/4 of your film's at night, that doesn't do it any favors. So I hope we're wrong on that. I hope there's more daytime in there as what they're showing. And then the last thing I'll say before I throw it back to you two, I love the way the Flash, like when he's running, it looks like he kind of leaves that streak behind him, like almost like Sonic in the Sonic Hedgehog games. Like there's that kind of smoke behind him. I think that's a very nice. I think that's a really nice touch. So I will say I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie, is what I'll say. Kyle, throwing it back to you.
Well, I mean, a lot of like the recent Zack Snyder movies haven't exactly been like the most like, I don't know, great, I would say. I really like 300, but that was back in the day. I haven't really watched it recently. Maybe I would feel differently now, but I feel like that was his peak, right? He did that movie, right? 300.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and with the other ones, it hasn't really created as much excitement, and and I feel like Justice League is kind of like copying Marvel, even though like they had Justice League before, but I mean they saw the success of the Avengers, so they're like, oh, we're gonna push Justice League, and like I kind of wish like these characters like had their own backstory, kind of like the Marvel movies did. Like each of those main characters mostly had like their own movies beforehand.
For sure, yeah. And that's that was my biggest gripe about Suicide Squad is like I didn't really know who I was watching, and like like I couldn't really get like connected to their characters emotionally like I could maybe in like a Marvel movie. But it helps knowing Batman, but that's really the only person that besides it looks like Superman makes an appearance. But like maybe I don't know. I think they have Wonder Woman coming out, but it's going to come out after, and so
that doesn't really make sense to me.
Right. Yeah. I would love to see a movie. Maybe I would love to see The Flash, and like you could tell that like you're saying, like Marvel thought it out and they're like, okay, we're gonna build it up and then we're gonna have a sweet Avengers movie. But then DC was like, oh, Avengers is like blockbuster. We need to start there. And then they started there and then they're like, okay, that didn't really work out so well. Let's like backtrack. So the methods definitely seem a little bit backwards. Zack Snyder, I agree with you, Kyle. I like 300. I know Hunter isn't as big of a fan, but I really liked it, and I like the aesthetic like feel that he brings to movies. Like I actually do enjoy that, but it's just that the plot doesn't always come together, and like a lot of the movies doesn't seem like they're written as smoothly. It's not as all, I guess, cohesive, you could say. And that's really what a lot of the other movies that he's directed really fell apart. And even like Sucker Punch, I know Hunter absolutely hated that movie, but like, and I think it had a lot to do with the plot, and I didn't love it, but I really did. I like the kind of dreamy type feel of it, and I like that he brings that to movies. So like, we'll see. Like I was excited about Suicide Squad, and that was a disappointment. So
Yeah,
you know, we're still waiting for the big one, I think, but we'll see.
I mean, we got Harley Quinn's ass, so it wasn't a complete
Right.
disappointment.
It wasn't a complete disaster, but
yeah. And we got
things could have gone better.
and we got a, and we got a good Will Smith performance, which has probably been like 8 years since we've had one of those. So I mean, so the thing is, DC has not been a total wash, but I think, Scott, I think you put it perfectly. I feel like they're playing catch up and they're not wanting to put in the legwork. They're just like, fuck it, let's just do Justice League now. And so, I mean, 3 movies to build up to a Justice League movie. I mean, 4 if you want to count Suicide Squad, but I barely count that as a movie. Wonder Woman comes out in June. This comes out in November, so there will at least be the Wonder Woman trailer.
So that does come out before
That
it.
does, yeah.
Okay.
That'll help a little.
That'll help a little bit. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm more excited for Wonder Woman than I am for Justice League. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys, because I think that
Yeah.
Wonder Woman does look badass.
Yeah, and this just looks. And look, I mean, there's only one more. So I believe Marvel had, let's see, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, Incredible Hulk before we got an Avengers movie. So there's 5 movies. So we're getting Batman.
But that was all specific to like the group that was the Avengers, right? Like we've had like Suicide Squad, but we're not going to see any of those characters, obviously.
True. It definitely felt like they went out of their way. It felt like they kind of almost audibled halfway through and went, "Oh, we can do a Justice League movie. Fuck it, let's do that."
Right.
It didn't feel like
right.
it doesn't feel like they've built to this. And I'm sorry, one of the dumbest things they did, killing off Superman this fucking early. It just made no goddamn sense. So whoever wrote that said, "Let's kill him now." You're dumb, and you've clearly never read a comic before. There was no reason to do that. Kill him at the end of Justice League if you really want to have an impact. But no.
I'm only gonna say one point to that, and my only point is that I don't think that Superman is marketable. Like I don't think that he is a like. I don't think people like. I think he's too indestructible. Like I think he's too like he's too invincible
ridiculous
for people to like him. Yeah, it's too ridiculous almost. Like I just don't think. I think in a comic, like you can do that and people will follow, and in like maybe like cartoons and things like that. But I don't think that like he's been in two you could say like feature movies about him, and just they have not been great. And they're coming at a time when CG is at its peak and like graphics are where they're the highest they've ever been, yada yada. But I don't know. I just I think it might be actually a smart move, because I don't know if people are going to continue to go see him unless they drastically change something about him.
I will just say for me, I liked Superman as a kid. I really did, actually, and I don't think some people may not remember this, but they used to team Batman and Superman up all the time. One of the best DC movies they did, animated movies, is Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, and it's them teaming up.
Oh shit.
And it's fucking wonderful. And I think that's what irritates me more is that DC. And I'll give DC a big compliment here. DC has been bitch slapping Marvel when it comes to animated shit ever since I was a kid. I even forget sometimes Marvel has an animated division. I'm like, oh, that's right, because you put out X-Men. No, because it's not even a contest. DC has been fucking amazing when it comes to animated shit. So the fact you can't take the animated shit and just go, hey, let's extend this out 30 more minutes and put actual people in it and make it into a coherent movie, it irritates me even more because they have the template there and they just can't fucking grasp it. It's like the fucking Da Vinci Code for them or some shit.
Wow.
So that
I
makes,
think you should be a consultant for DC, Hunter.
Thank
I think honestly, that sounded great.
thank
I would
you.
hire you.
But seriously, like it hurts my head how they haven't gotten these fucking right, and I will stick by the fact that Zack Snyder is the wrong fucking person to be directing this shit. I don't know if you guys heard the rumor, but Matthew Vaughn, who of course did Kingsman, X-Men First Class, and then the original Kick-Ass, which was great. He's apparently the front runner for Man of Steel 2, the Superman sequel, and I'm just like, please give it to him. Like, let him be that guy to carry you guys forward, because I think Matthew Vaughn is a bad motherfucker, and he could really bring some levity and some gravitas to these movies, as opposed to Zack Snyder, who's like, oh, explosions, woo! Like, I'm fucking done with Zack Snyder. He's like M. Night Shyamalan, except he makes more money. Like, that's really the only difference between the two of them. I can't.
I agree. They need to they need to mix it up. Like they need to try somebody else.
Yeah, it is long overdue. I'm done. I really am just done with Zack Snyder. But look, I'm hoping this is good. I'm genuinely hoping this is good. I have several friends that are hardcore DC fans, and I don't want to see a bad comic book movie. I don't. I don't want to sit through uh, another Electra or something like that. Like, I want this to be good. So, this comes out in November. I don't know. I see some stuff here that I'm intrigued by, but I see some stuff that makes me go, oh, this could be poo. But Kyle, we'll throw it to you here for your final thoughts, sir.
Hmm. Well, I can't believe we've gone this whole time. We haven't mentioned Wonder Woman's boobs.
Finally.
I think that's enough to entice me to watch it at least.
It gets you in the door, and that's the goal, right? You just gotta get into the movie theater.
True. That's Kyle.
They're
Good.
They're wonderful. That was all I wanted to add.
Oh, god damn it. God, I should have cut you off. I knew my instinct was right, but yeah, I have no one to blame but myself. But guys, this comes out in November. I really want to hear you guys' thoughts on why you're excited or why you're nervous about this movie. I fall in the middle, I fully admit. But guys, follow us here on SoundCloud at the Real Pineapple 775. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Mr. Scott Neerman on Twitter at
I'm the first.
And Kyle, you have Twitter, right?
Yeah, KLP443.
That's right. How could I forget? Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for Ghost in the Shell, which I am very curious how that's going to be because I love the anime so much. And I will finally have my list up for how Fox can improve the X-Men movies because I went back and watched X-Men Apocalypse today and just made me really sad. But guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.